Hi class, so today we are going to write hello world in JavaScript. So for computer science principles, there's a variety of languages we may use. In fact, any language that's a programming language we're allowed to use in this course. And JavaScript is just a very accessible, easy to use language. If we do a search for top used programming languages in 2020, we'll find JavaScript. It sits near the top of any list. So this is just the first list that comes out. We have Python, JavaScript, Java, C#, C, C++, Go, and R. And if we click on the one right below it, JavaScript's going to appear somewhere on that list. All of these lists are going to have slightly different results, but JavaScript is a very in-demand language. And each language has its own specialty. So this one has Python as number one again. This might be the same list. Let's see. So programming, scripting, and markup languages is actually has JavaScript as 67.8% of, I'm not sure what they're rating on, but the point is JavaScript will show up in pretty much every list. If you get good at any single language, if you get good at JavaScript, picking up a language like Python or Java or C# or C++ or C or Swift becomes quite easy. There are some languages that have very unique features to them. I would say HTML and CSS is a pretty unique language. SQL is a unique language. So those languages, I would say, are not as good to learn for a general programming purpose. But the first batch that I was listing, they're all very similar in structure. So you learn one, picking up the next one is a pretty easy topic. I like to teach with JavaScript because it runs in web browsers, and every computer has a web browser. Every computer that you have access to has a web browser, and it just makes it pretty simple. Codio, are where we're going to be writing our programs, can handle many of these different languages, but again, JavaScript just runs everywhere, and it's pretty fast to program in, and I think you'll have a good experience with it. That being said, for those of you that get overwhelmed through this process, we will have other options. It's called block coding. Block coding is absolutely not for somebody who would want to go into coding for a major in college or anything, but it is a way to understand how coding gets put together. And so we'll explore that, but we're going to explore block coding later in the game. And just a subset of the students will be using block coding. I personally don't have a lot of love for block coding. So I'm opening up Codio, and I'm going to start a new folder. Anytime you do a new project, you create a folder, and actually I'm going to create it in Computer Science Principles. File, new folder, and I'm going to call it Hello World. And anytime we do something new, we write hello world to start, and so that's going to be our task today. So JavaScript runs inside a web browser, so we always need to have a web page. So I'm going to say File, New File. I'm going to call it index.html. And in Codio, if you just hit !tab, it fills out a lot of the HTML that you need. That's a wonderful, cool feature. But then I'm going to say another new file. I'm going to call it hello.css. This is going to be where we have our make our web page look nice if we need to. And then we're going to make a new file type, and it's a JavaScript, so I'm going to call this hello.js. So every program that we make has to solve a problem, and the problem that this program is going to solve is is the problem of writing a JavaScript program for the first time, or the first time in a while if you haven't written one in a while. So my index page, what I need to do is I need to hook it up so it will be connected to the styles. And so that's, I'm getting used to these new shortcuts, but I think I might be able to just do this. Link. Yeah, so if I type link tab, it fills out everything for me. That's beautiful. That's actually the first time I've done that. And then all I have to do is name my CSS file. Now I called it hello.css. And so I'm just going to call it hello.css there. Now my JavaScript file, I can actually put it in the beginning. I can put it at the end. It is fairly standard to put it at the end. Because when you hit that, if there's any code that should be run right away, it will trigger. And so you want the web page to load before you start running code that may act on that web page. So I'm going to try typing the word script and tab. And so that one didn't pick up. So what it is you're going to type script, and then you're going to say source equals, src equals, and I'm naming this hello.js. So that's the name of the file that's going to have our JavaScript in it. And the type for that is also going to be text/JavaScript. So I'm going to say type equals text/JavaScript. And then it does have a closing tag, and you could put in here JavaScript is not supported by this browser. All that's basically telling us is if this script can't be run, it will display this message. In the body, I'm just going to say hello world. And we've done hello world with web pages before. And when we look at the web page, we're just going to see hello world. Now, for this first one, what we're going to do is if you go up to the view menu on your web browser, there's going to be a developer tab, and you have to choose JavaScript Console. I'm not sure if OBS is picking that part up, but if you do that, you'll then see stuff over here. And this stuff is nice. You don't have to pay attention to some of it, but some of it you want to pay attention to. So what I'm going to do in my hello.js is I'm just going to say console.log. Now console.log, what that does is that will print stuff on this sidebar. Hello world. So I'm just saying print hello world. Now in JavaScript, in general, you always want to end each command with a semicolon. A command you can say is a line of code, although you may have multiple lines of code on one line. You also may have a line of code or a command that spans several lines. So when a command is over, you end it with a semicolon. Console.logs, parenthesis, and then anything inside those parentheses will show up in this piece here. Now, to test that, we can come back here. We can hit the refresh button, and it says hello world. This is kind of nice. And then what we can do is we can say, ooh, let's do some other things. Let's say console.log, and it can do math. 4 times 2. And then when I come back here and I hit refresh, it says hello world, and then it says 8, because 8 is 4 times 2. So we have a web page. That web page just says hello world in it. We have a CSS page, so it's not doing anything. We have a hello.js page, which we can print to this console. And we can also do math on this page. We can also interact. Well, actually, first, before we do anything, let's make our page a little prettier. I'm going to say the body is going to have background color, and we're just going to give it a beige background color. Refresh. Okay, and then what I would like to do is I'd like to change this font. So I can go to fonts.google.com, and they give us a list of a whole bunch of fonts that we can pick. And I'll grab Oswald. That's one that I like. Going to say select this style. I choose embed, and then I choose import. Now, we are already in a style page, so you do not pick the styles. You just take the stuff that's in between the styles and put that at the top of your style page. So the CSS page, above anything else, I'm just saying grab that, and I'm grabbing that from fonts.google APIs. And then I can grab this and put this where I want the font to be. Oops, I guess we don't need the hello world message anymore. And so I'm going to say everywhere in the body I want the font to be the same. So I'm just going to put font family here. You can have multiple fonts. You can just import many fonts, and then you can have different tags have different fonts. And hit refresh, and now we have hello world in a new font. It's still saying hello world and 8 over here. I'm just going to do one or two more quick things. Hello world is here. Hello world is here. What I'm going to then do is I'm going to say, I'm going to show you how to interact with the web page. So I'm going to make a div tag. I'm going to give it an ID. And when you're connecting JavaScript to web pages, you want them to have an ID. And I'm gonna call this Spanish, but I'd like you to call it whatever language you want. And we're not going to put anything in there. We're just going to call it Spanish. So when we hit review, it's going to say hello world still. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so JavaScript will say hello world in Spanish. And so we need to connect this to our web page. So you don't have to memorize anything in this class. You always have Google, so you can come to Google and you can say how to change a div tag JavaScript. And we're hoping that we hit W3 schools. W3 schools is the second one. And I think this third one might be the right one. I'm going to open, oh no, it is this second one. I know what I'm looking for, so I'll be a little faster. But let's see. We've got this right here. We have document, get element by ID. We have an element name, and then we say .innerHTML equals new text. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come back to my JavaScript. I'm going to say document, get element by ID. Now I have to change this P1 to Spanish because I want to affect the Spanish tag. I want to affect this. Now inside of this is the HTML. There's nothing here. So what I'm saying is I want the inner HTML to equal some new text. Now the only languages I know are English and programming languages. So Google Translate. And I want to go from English to Spanish. So I'm going to look for Spanish. I'm going to type hello world. And hola I would have gotten, but the mundo I would not have. So now I'm copying that. Coming back to here, and I'm going to change the inner HTML to hola mundo. Now I'm going to come back to here. I'm going to hit refresh, and it says hello world, hola mundo, because we said we want the HTML inside the Spanish tag to have this text. We have hello world over here still, and that's good. What I would like you to do is you're going to turn in a screenshot of your JavaScript here, including the console log. And I need to see that it's saying hello world and 8. Feel free to change the text. Feel free to do different math. Make the math kind of challenging if you want to do some more complicated math in there. That's great. I also want you to take a screenshot of your web page right here. And I also want a screenshot of your HTML. I do not need a screenshot of the CSS, but if you want to supply that, you're welcome to as well. And so that's your hello world in JavaScript. I hope you enjoy this. If you want to take things a step farther and get a little creative, if you have that ability, feel free to. If you do more, even if you vary a little away from this assignment, you'll get absolutely full credit, and I'll support you in going above and beyond. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this, and good luck.